Uffizi, or offices, as their name suggests, were constructed to a design by Giorgio Vasari to house in one building the 13 guilds and magistracies used by Duke Cosimo in administering the state. This grandiose horseshoe-shaped building, between the old Palazzo dei Priori, which then became Palazzo Ducale, and the right bank of the Arno, accommodated the major guilds of the merchants, of the exchange, of the silk makers, of the physicians and apothecaries, and the minor guilds of the fabricanti, which included the woodworkers and master stonecutters, as well as the tribunal of the mercatanzia, which resolved merchants' disputes. Attached to them, in the same building, were the Magistrature dei Commissari delle Bande, a kind of territorial militia, the conservators of the laws, the officials of the pupilli, who had charge of orphans, of the Grascia, who saw to provisions of food, of the Ten, of the Vendite, or taxes, and finally of honesty, or public morality. In the painting in the apartment of Leo X, showing the entry of Pope Leo X into Florence, behind the Palazzo Vecchio we see the church of San Pier Scheraggio and the houses which would be demolished to make room for the Uffizi. From the laying of the first stone, which took place on the 30th of July 1560, 20 years went by before the building was completed on the 31st of October 1580, in the time of the Grand Duke Francesco I and of the architect Bernardo Buontalenti, when it was joined onto the Loggia dei Lanzi. From that year, the top floor of the building, with the closure of the loggias and their transformation into corridors, decorated with grotesques by Alessandro Allori and his assistants, and the construction, to a design by Bernardo Buontalenti, of the tribune, an octagonal room with a cupola and drum encrusted with mother of pearl, and a floor with rich intarsia decoration, which was intended to display the most precious pieces from the Medici collections, was transformed into a dynastic gallery, the first nucleus of the oldest museum in Europe. The Palazzo Pitti is named after the rich banker Luca Pitti, who commissioned it from Filippo Brunelleschi. The palace, much smaller than the one we see today, was built after the death of the architect and was acquired in 1549 by the Duchess Eleonora of Toledo, the wife of Cosimo I, who found her growing family cramped in the apartments placed at her disposal in the old Palazzo dei Priori. The 15th century nucleus, with only 7 windows on 2 floors and 3 doorways, 2 of which were closed in the 16th century and replaced by kneeling windows, was greatly enlarged under the direction of Bartolomeo Ammanati, and at the back an enormous theatrical courtyard was created in rusticated stone. This space was used for festivals and performances such as the Naumachia, or sea battle, staged in 1589 as part of the wedding celebrations of Ferdinando I and Christine of Lorraine. The sculptor and architect Niccolò Tribolo, who had worked at the Medici Villa Castello, was commissioned to lay out the garden behind, spreading over the bobbly hillside with long perspective vistas and the geometrical divisions characteristic of the classic Italian garden. During the course of the 17th and 18th century, Palazzo Pitti attained its present size, and in the mid-17th century the rooms on the facade of the Piano Nobile, which now contain the Palatine Gallery, had their ceilings decorated by Pietro da Cortona and his followers.